Good morning, everyone. Okay, right, so just dealing with messages. Right, so today is my Starseed day when I talk to Starseeds and help them. So today I got some messages here. Notes. I was gonna call this talk Starseeds Need to Be Swimming in a World of Love and Experiencing Everything Fully all the time, but I can't talk that into a talk, so I'm just going to call this Starseeds You Are Needed, or even Starseed Call to Arms. Now, recently I've seen a TV series which a friend recommended, but I've seen it anyway, called The Eternals, and it's got Angelina Jolie and it's got Harry Styles, and they're the only Starseeds that are in it, and there's a mixture of reptilians and humans in it. And the director is a Chinese woman who's actually a reptilian. She's the director and the writer. Go figure. Anyway, so this is a really, really important talk in terms of trying to motivate starseeds and get them to see who they are and what the possibilities are. So that's key. So when you're a starseed, there's about 3 or 4 different types. There's the starseeds that are just in denial, and I knew someone. We even discussed marriage very loosely, but she chose to stay with her abusive husband. I won't get into it, it's highly personal, obviously. And so if you want to marry into money, and if you're in the corporate lifestyle, and you're really in the 3-dimensional world human trap, so there's too much light coming through. Way too much light. So if you're in the human trap, and you'll just be a starseed, but you'll be in fierce denial, and so that's one type, just total denial, because the things that the world have to offer are just too, nice. Now, or a lot of people are actually in what I call the New Age trap. Now, some people won't like me saying this, but a lot of the history of the New Age movement, if you go back to Madame Blavatsky, even if you go back to Arthur Conan Doyle and, cutting up paper fairies and ectoplasm coming out of people's noses, but if you historically go right through the New Age movement, there's either been some form of trickery or manipulation, money grabbing, and then there's been a lot of reptilians. So the second group of people, I call those the people that are in the New Age trap. And I went through all the New Age trap. I tried religions, I tried channeling, I tried various teachers, I tried Cryon by Lee Carroll, endlessly. I went through all of them. So there's a large proportion of starseeds that are what I call in the New Age trap. And why do they stay trapped? I mean, this is kind of a whole nother talk on itself. The reason they stay trapped in it is because it makes lots of wonderful promises, and it doesn't really ask anything of them. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, it promises that you can manifest and, have a Ferrari and, be this and do this and have a big title and be, full of your own self-importance and have lots of clients and have retreat centers, and it's just wow, wow, wow. And it also kind of temporarily offers the promise that starseeds don't have to deal with regular humans or reptilians, and they can go off in a retreat center and they can be shielded from some of the damaging effects of the world. And it makes all these promises. But the reason it doesn't ask anything from you, it doesn't require anything of your heart in terms of deep authenticity. It doesn't require that you develop your virtues and become a good or kind person, as long as you can put on the fake image and be a New Age, teacher. I mean, please don't, get me wrong. I mean, there's a lot of beautiful things that are happening in the New Age, and there's lots of deeply authentic, wonderful teachers. And so this is a highly generalized talk. Highly, highly generalized. So first to the sort of the corporate starseeds, or the starseeds that are in denial and they like money and they like the trappings. Secondly, the New Age offers different kinds of trappings. It offers kind of ego, spiritual ego. You don't have to develop your virtues. It's all image. It all sounds fluffy and wonderful, and it can shield you away from any abuse or trauma. So if you grew up sexually abused, or parents who didn't understand you, or living with reptilians, you can just go to a retreat center, put on a fluffy attitude, and you don't have to do anything. You just run away. And then there's the third group of starseeds, and that's the starseeds that have passed those two tests. They generally want to be starseeds. They're not in denial. They know what they are, and they've moved through all of the trappings of the New Age movement and all the tests. And then they're just what I call the third group. They're just in pain. They're kind of overwhelmed. They might be sensitive, like myself, a Cancerian or a Pisces or a water sign, or just in general feeling pain. But they just find being a starseed is too hard because there's too much pain. Overwhelmed by historical child abuse, like myself, or their tests that they're in. I mean, I know lots of starseeds. Every time I'm talking about this, I'm tracking someone in England, I'm tracking someone in Ireland, I'm tracking someone in Florida, and they all have examples of this. And I feel for them, and I do, really, really strongly. But what I'm here to tell you is that you're already beautiful inside, and what you have is already glorious, and it's just natural inside you. And then secondly, trying to give you a vision of what you possibly could be, and you could be more than all of this. So one is the first block, and the first block is living on planet Earth is very, very difficult. And also there's lots of things that it sort of promises. Hello, Radka and Charlene, everybody's joining in, by the way. So the Earth mentality, or the Earth plan, or the Earth school, or the Earth mindset offers a lot of things, makes lots of promises, and engenders lots of fear. So when you're in that, how would you see yourself? How would you know what you fully could be? And how would you know what you already have? So those are kind of the three things, or the two things, or whatever, that could help you not be in denial, move away from some of those New Age traps that just keep you held, and then also help move you forward through your pain. Like last night, because we're working up to, here's an example, we're working in a full moon kind of energy with retrogrades and other things. So I thought Mother Mary would suggest me a movie about dealing with my pain, but she didn't. She made me see this movie, Man of Steel, and the Henry Cavill is a starseed. So Mother Mary quite often tries to inspire me, which is what I'm trying to do here with others, is that's what angels do. They try and help us see the best possible version of ourselves, inspire us to have courage and keep on going, and see the best possible version of yourself, and see what's inside you and what you already have, and also the connection you have to your guides as well is an amazing form of support. So that's really kind of what I'm here and what I'm trying to do. There's lots of different, I've got some notes here and I'm trying to work on my notes. So just to kind of go over that again, if people are in denial, quite often, I mean, I'm thinking about someone right now, and they worked in the corporate world, and they had a father that was either police or military and very abusive, and used to, punch this person. And then they had issues around security, and they married into money, and they worked in the corporate world, even though they were a starseed or Palladian or a Syrian. So they had all this internal beauty, but the pain of the abusive father and the lack of love and support meant that it was just too hard basket, and they chose to, from their lower ego or their wounded inner child, or whatever you want to call it, they chose to just hope that money and security was going to fix it. I know someone right now who's also thinks that money and owning a house is very, very important, and they're in that model as well, and it creates certain amounts of fear as not fulfilling their full starseed purpose. So that's what it's like to live in denial. Now, what would I say to people like that who are in denial? Well, go and watch a Star Trek movie, or go and see a Superman, or go for climb a mountain, or do something exciting and see a vision and see who you really could be or what you are. The way I did it is I used to do weight training, I used to get bullied at school, so I did weight training to make myself strong. And then I discovered ballet, where I had this sense of freedom and flying through the air. So I was very lucky when I was sort of around about 17, because I discovered weight training and ballet. And instantly it kind of, it really meshed with with my soul. And I was also really, really lucky. This is going to sound really, really weird. I was very, very lucky because I had 6 years of very dangerous child abuse. And so child abuse, for me, had a really, really good payoff. And the payoff was that it turned me into an instant superhero. All when I was growing up, there was Zorro, there was Batman. Actually, even before my child abuse, even when I was 4 or 5, I still liked Star Trek, and I still liked Batman. Even I just always knew that I was some kind of superhero, or maybe not that I was some kind of superhero, but I knew it was kind of a virtue. Like when I saw Batman and Robin, standing up, the Cape Crusader. Even when I was like 4 or 5 years old, I just knew that those virtues and that struggle here on earth were really, really, really important. So I'm trying to find the language. I'm trying to find the language to help those people that are in denial, because if you're just worried about house and security and money, it can be so much more. And child abuse really helped me. Ballet really helped me. Weight training really helped me. But they were all expressions of what was already in my soul. So if you have a soul right now, and you don't know how to get access to it, you don't know how to turn the key, you don't know how to feel or tap into what you are, I'm telling you that it's in you, it's there. And it's really, really powerful, really, really strong. And they always say that you do more damage to yourself when you deny your true identity. When you switch it off, or when you let's say hypothetically, you go into a dysfunctional relationship, but he's kind of like handsome and he kind of pays you lots of compliments, but you either know he's a reptilian or a human, or he's got an agenda, but you just sort of hang in there and you have the relationship anyway. And your little voice in your head's going, this isn't right. I feel like I'm selling my soul to the devil. I feel I'm compromising my integrity. I'll just go along with it anyway because he's kind of a nice guy. He may behave a bit like an idiot around his friends, and I'm worried that he might be a bit manipulative. Well, there's more power inside you than you can imagine. You're just not tapping into it right now. You're looking for a lower. You're setting your sights too low. So those are the people that are in denial. Now, people who are in the New Age trap must realize, like there was a guy called James Arthur Ray, and he got done in prison for putting people in a sweat lodge in Arizona or Sedona, and they got dehydrated, and about 7 or 8 of them died. And even following up to that, he would play a role where he was God, and he was on top of a mountain, everybody dressed in these robes, and they kind of did this role-playing game on this retreat out in the desert. But the thing about the New Age traps is that if it's making all these promises that are around spiritual ego, like manifesting or making lots of money or being a famous, retreat center leader, it's important to understand that they can trick you some of the time, but not all of the time. And it's when you're doing lots of alone time, because I'm very, very lucky because I'm an only child, lots and lots of alone time. So if you're in the New Age trap and you're following on with a spiritual teacher, or you're going to a retreat center like I've done, or you even live in a spiritual commune, it's very, very, very important to go away on a holiday or climb a mountain or spend 2 or 3 days. You don't even if you can't get access to trees or nature, even just go walking the streets. I used to go walking on the streets on Lincoln Boulevard in Venice Beach and Santa Monica, or Playa del Rey, and I'd just contemplate and think about the people I were with and what I was getting involved in, and just take time out and seek deep inside your heart and just say, is this group, is this teacher, is this person, is this book that I'm reading, is it all it's cracked up to be? Like I read a book by, I think it was by Claire Hartsong and Tom Kenyon, and it was about the hathors. And the hathors lived, 25,000 years ago, and they were these 8 foot tall beings, and they were in the etheric realm, astral, and they had bodies, but they had a cow for a head, and they were channeling all this material, Tom Kenyon and Claire Hartsong, about the hathors, and they sound all lovely and sweet and nice and light. There was no real substance. They lived too long ago to have it credibly checked. There might have been pictures of sort of cow-like figures on some Sumerian tablets from 15 or 20,000 years ago. And after halfway reading this book, I just said, this is all a bit silly and daft, and there's no substance in there. It's just talking about supposed beings that existed 25,000 years ago, but there's nothing I can utilize, and it just seems like just unnecessary fluff. So if you're involved in the New Age movement and you're reading a book, following a teacher, just think about your heart. Think about your connection to your angels. Think about your integrity. Think about what's important. If you see a little dog on the side of the road that's got a sick paw, immediately your heart goes out to it. A tear wells up in your eye. You know what authenticity feels like. You know what heart-centered compassion feels like. If like me, I used to do work with suicide victims in Culver City and Los Angeles. When your heart's really fully connected, and when your eyes tear up, and when you feel the true essence of who you are, and then you go back to that book you're reading, or you go back to that retreat center, or you go back to that group. Like, I've had a lot of times where I saw a Tibetan monk. He was a Westerner, he was American, and he gave this talk. I've had many tests like this, and he gave this talk, and I thought it was all going to be about spiritual enlightenment. I thought it was going to be really interesting about the history of Buddhism, but he spent the entire talk talking about chocolate. He was obsessed with chocolate. Now, everybody knows it has phenylalanine, probably because he was celibate. Maybe he needed that chemical that emulates the physical act. So maybe he wanted the phenylalanine. But he spent the whole talk talking about chocolate, and at the end of it, because he was a biologist, he got people crawling on the ground like cockroaches. They were lying on the ground with one arm open and the opposing leg out, and then they'd change it and move this arm and the other leg open and sort of crawl and move along the ground like cockroaches. And I lay there on the ground with one arm open, and I thought, is this Tibetan Buddhist monk who talks about chocolate and gets us crawling on the ground, claiming that we're going to neurologically center the left and right wing hemisphere of the brain and become enlightened, is this really credible? So I challenge you, even if I sound offensive and even if I'm treading on toes, I apologize, but if you move through that New Age trap of what's keeping you locked in and taking you away from your authentic heart and taking you away from your angels and what's really, really, really real, just spend time thinking about that, because it's really important. I've met so many others. A woman who was in advertising, and she claimed to be Metatron, and she did this workshop where she bent people's heads back and she breathed down people's throats. And my friend did that, and I didn't go to the workshop. I went to the Friday night talk, the setup. And then she said she got a cold or a flu, and this woman breathed down her throat. I don't know if she was a reptilian, but I walked out in the middle of the talk. I just thought it was ridiculous. So anyway, that's the second group, the Starseeds that are stuck in some kind of New Age teacher or a trap, or even reading a book, or even if you're reading, I'm trying to think of a not credible New Age author, but you know what I'm talking about. And then the third group are the Starseeds that are just overwhelmed by too much pain, and they're authentic, they're not in denial, they know who they are, they've passed all the New Age traps and all the tests, and they're just overwhelmed by too much pain. And usually they might have had some child abuse or sexual abuse when they were young, and they're still... The way to kind of help that group is they kind of need more healing techniques. They need to know ways and methods how to deal with their emotional pain, and then also get some loving support from someone, either me or someone else, to motivate them into believing that first they're worthy of, of their own soul and the connection and the love and care. And then to be inspired by showing them someone else who's done what they've done, and just give them a bit of an insight to see a little bit ahead of what they could be. So as a starseed, it's really, really important to be able to fully see your own light. And then it's really, really important to see what you have inside you and what you have access to, and then to expect and know what you could gain in the future. And by gain, I just mean talking to your angels, feeling God, having that telepathic connection, having access to your own heart love. And there's not enough starseeds that I know that have all of that going on. Not enough. I wish I could find ways. I mean, every time I give these talks, I'm just struggling. Not struggling, I mean, I'm just looking for new ways to inspire, to help you see what's beauty, what's inside. Now, the problem is that when my mouth does this and words come out, it's already changed the energy or frequency of me, because you'll experience me very differently if I was just silent in the room saying nothing. So the act of being on camera and the act of speaking removes a lot of that. I mean, I could sit here, for an hour and cry and feel and send you telepathic waves of love or light or whatever, or pray for you or send you a blessing, but it's hard to bring it across in the way that I really love to. Oh yeah, thank you, Charlene. I understand year group 3. Like this morning when I woke up at 6:30, the first thing I did is I chopped up some carrots and some kale stalks, and I fed the neighbours' rabbits, because the neighbours, they don't really feed their rabbits. They check on the water bowl once in a while, and they throw some pellets in there, and they don't move the cage so there's no new grass growing up through the bottom. So I feed the rabbits. I don't complain about it. I haven't told them, I just do it. And then I chop up some dog roll and I throw it in the creek and I feed the eels. Now, why am I telling you this? Is that when you're connected as a starseed, and when you have love inside you and you know who you are and you've got angels, is that you spend all of your life thinking about others. I don't worry about myself. My life is relatively easy. I mean, little things, come and go. Still too much light on my screen. There you go, that's better. So I spend all my time loving and caring for and thinking about others. Even, first in the morning, 6:30 is rabbits and then the eels. And then I message and I talk to people. And I try and be as loving and inspiring and caring as possible. And there's really nothing better. I mean, I play with things and I have my own personal selfish needs. But none of that comes close. Now, I want to talk about the future of humanity and the future of this planet. Not that I claim to be channeling anything, but just observing. And that is that when I say starseeds a call to arms, or you're needed, what I mean is that everybody might be aware that things appear to be speeding up. Like if you watch TV in the 1950s and you were in America and you watched Peyton Place and there was like dramas, you kind of got an idea from society that everything was pretty sort of ho-hum and humdrum. But now we have COVID-19, we have sex trafficking, and we have the Ghislaine Maxwell case, and we have so many more pressures, and there's so much going on. And the reason I'm bringing this about is to help you understand that planet Earth kind of appears to be speeding up, and the amount of historical things and change going on right now compared to 1940s and 50s and earlier is really, really super intense. Years ago they showed that movie called Inconvenient Truth by Al Gore about global warming, and people don't talk about global warming anymore. Not that I'm, this is not a rant. I'm not going to start going on about global warming because we've had COVID-19 to worry about. And then people also worry about, New Age people worry about, opening portals and, ascension in the fifth dimension. They think that's speeding up as well. Some people talk about UFO disclosure. The main thing I'm trying to say is that all of this is kind of ramping up to some future that appears to be more urgent. And that it's that urgency that I'm trying to get to, and that why we're here. Now, if you're in the denial group and you're still a starseed, but you work in corporate America, you work in an office, and you've got a really, really good pay packet coming, and you've got dental, and you've got all that, and you're happy, fine. That's okay. I'm not judging you. But what I will say is that as a starseed, we volunteered to come here. If you wanted a good life, you'd actually die today, and you'd go back home to Pleiades or Sirius, and you'd be with your true family, and you'd be, riding on horses and, playing lyres and music and dancing, and you'd be having the real life of what you're intended. But as starseeds, when we're on Earth, we're just visitors, and this is work, this is volunteer, and this is the reason why we're here, is to raise the frequency of the planet, to help, to be in service towards humanity. So if you're in the denial group, I don't know what more I could say to that denial group. Suffice to say that you're a starseed, and your real job is to be in service to humanity. If you're in the New Age group, and you're still going through all those traps, and you're really, really stuck, and you think you're going to open your retreat center in 5 years' time, and you're going to teach people how to, ascend, and you're going to become an ascension teacher and teach manifesting, and they've already, you've given your clients, the secret, and further down the rabbit hole, fine. If you're doing that, if you're enmeshed in that and you think that's your reality, then I can't really say much to move you along. I suppose I could only help those people who are in the New Age trap, and they start to get deluded, and they start to see cracks in the theory, and they've seen a few teachers that are either in prison or not doing so well, and you're kind of saying, well, hold on a minute, I bought into this mindset, and it's not working for me. What the heck's going on? So I can kind of help those people. What I would say is that planet Earth does need your help. Now, it's no surprise that when I was feeling emo and feeling a bit self-centered and worried about the full moon, and it was having to do some healing, that Mother Mary just showed me a Man of Steel. It's a really, really powerful movie, and the reason they showed me is because Earth has urgency. They need us. It's like that Uncle Sam poster in World War II, Uncle Sam needs you, with that finger pointing. It's that strong. It's really that intense. So I don't worry about my own personal selfish needs. Well, a little bit, but this is why I'm here. It's the promise. It's the service. It's the and when I help people, when I help bunny rabbits, and I go there in the morning and I put carrots. And I clean out their water and I put in stalks. They just get really excited. They run around and they can't find a piece of carrot. And the mother, because they've got babies, they grab the carrot and they run. Because they say, you're not going to eat my bit of carrot. I'm going to have it on my own. And they're like really desperate. They're desperately hungry. And when you feed bunny rabbits carrots, and when you feed eels and they just writhe around, they're really, really happy. It just makes my heart swell. And it's the same as when I help a starseed, or when I help people. And I help people who are disillusioned. I help people where things are not working. I give them some hope. I give them some healing techniques. I teach them a way to talk to their guides, and they come back to me 2 or 3 days later and say, Edward, you wouldn't believe what came up in this book. They showed me that that my sister is struggling with this with her baby, and they get the answers for the first time, and they said, I never had access to those kinds of answers or that kind of help. Edward, you radically changed my life. And so, there's no other joy helping people. Now, if you're in the third group and the pain is just too much, I can show by way of my example and the abuse I had in my foster home. If you want to have a private conversation with me, and I can talk to you about my child abuse, about how I healed myself, how I went to the government, endlessly, and I went to the police and I made statements, and no one would ever listen to me. They said they lost my file and they couldn't help me, and I fell through the cracks. I wasn't going to get a government payout. I wasn't going to get any government assistance, and I kept on getting ignored by the police, and they told me it was a historical case. Forget about it, move on with your life. These cases, we don't succeed in them very often. She's elderly, move on. So I've been through that too. if you need to talk to me, if you need to talk to someone, if the pain is too hard, you have a team of angels, and you also have other starseeds around the world. And that's why I created PASI, which is Palladians and Syrians International. There's people that love you. There's people that can care for you. There's people that can inspire you. We don't want to disempower you and make you dependent or needy. We don't want you to feel less than or feel humble that you have to ask for help. You never have to feel ashamed. I talk about my abuse with pride. I mean, the power and the strength. What it took to forge through is that the interesting thing in this this Man of Steel movie, there's a scene where he's really struggling. It makes me a bit emotional to talk about it, and he's fighting against these impossible odds, you know. And if you've been abused, and if you've been in a foster home like I have for 6 years, where there's no hope, and you don't know if you have the strength to overcome or to endure, I'm here to tell you that you can. I mean, I really, really, really feel for people who come to me with these kinds of stories. And I have a lot of time and I have a lot of place in my heart for people who have been through huge amounts of trauma, and they're inside their heart, they're carrying so much burden and carrying so much responsibility. They're trying the very best they can with the tools and with what they've got. And it's really, really hard for them. I wish I could inspire other starseeds who could have the heart, love, the compassion to be available to hold some space for these people. I think you have to go through it yourself, and I think you have to learn how to heal yourself. I mean, I've had lots. I used to go to therapy regularly. I became kind of like a therapy addict in my 20s. When I was about 26, I went to St. Thomas's Hospital in London, and I had a therapist. It was all structured and it was all paid by the government. But it was very medical model. There was no heart, and so I think you have to. I mean, for me, I've learnt to do it for myself, and I've been really, really privileged and very, very lucky. I'm incredibly lucky that I've got Mother Mary and angels, and I've got precise communication techniques where she can show me things that have blown me away. She can teach me about my inner child. Every single day that if I scratch my head or if I sigh, I can track every single feeling, every single action, every single movement of my body, every single thought. I can track it back to either denial or regret or sadness or loss or my mum or my dad or my foster home or self-hatred or aspects of my inner child. I can track everything. I know how to heal it. I know how to fix it. I know how to provide support. And I know what to do. And I'd love to be able to teach or help others to have that level of personal power. I'm not entirely fixed. I mean, probably sometimes I feel like I'm about 97% healed. That's kind of where I'm at, if I had to put it on a ruler. But even when you don't have to be 100% healed to be okay. You can still be 50%, 90%, whatever. You know, as starseeds, we have these huge loving hearts, and if we didn't have that pain, I wouldn't go across the road and inspect these bunny rabbits and think, you know, their water's running dry. Can I put water in their bowl, or can I chop up some carrots? I've got to probably go up the road and buy more carrots now, because I've ate me out of house and home. But I think I've said enough, really. I hope starseeds can understand what I'm saying. I don't even know if I communicate clearly. But yeah. So if you're a starseed, and if you're struggling, if you're in denial, or if you're in the New Age traps, or if you're deluded, or if things are not working, or if you're in too much pain, I can promise you there's a way forward. And we're all connected. We're all family. We've all lived for 15 billion years on other dimensions. If you want a history lesson, if you want to know who you are, if you want to understand your part in that game plan, it's a bit like American football. You've got your the guy that throws the ball, your quarterback. There's a game plan. Everybody's and when they draw it up on the board, I mean, our angels, they're up in UFOs or starships on the mothership, and they have boardroom meetings where they do the chalkboard and they say, the left defender comes in here. So we're all part of a team. I hope that's helped someone. I was talking earlier about global warming and COVID-19 and UFO disclosures and all sorts of different things. I just generally feel that Earth's history desperately needs our help, and I'm trying to step up and be available and assist others to do the same. So that's it, really. That's it. Okay. I hope that relates to someone. If you want to talk, if you want to chat, you're more than welcome. Love you all, and see you soon.